Hi, so today I'm talking about database monitoring at Dropbox. So I'm Tammy Butow. I'm an SRE manager at Dropbox on the databases team within storage. I'm also on Twitter, Tammy Butow, and I've been at Dropbox for about 9 months now. We own the databases service, our team. I'm also an incident manager on call if there are any big availability issues. We're strong SREs, and we care about reliability, durability, availability, and we also look after all of the database operations. I'm Australian, and I moved to the USA mid-2014. I heard about Monitorama originally from Mark Imbriaco, who I worked with at DigitalOcean, and it was really great to work with him. And I also worked with James Turnbull back in Australia in 2010, and he has a really great new book out called The Art of Monitoring. And he's just a great person to be able to learn from in the past, and I still learn so much from him now, and it's really great that he's sharing his knowledge. So previously DigitalOcean, the National Australia Bank, I worked there as an engineer for many years and also as a tech lead and manager, and I also worked at Queensland University of Technology. So a lot of people always say to me, like, why would you leave Australia? It's so beautiful, looks so nice, but to me Australia is really like this. It's like a scary place to go outside. Like, I've seen these fights. When you go to the beach, it looks a lot more like this rather than the pretty pictures. Like, maybe if you Google search Australia and then wonder, why aren't there any people in the beaches? It looks so peaceful. This is why. Just walk down a little bit and you'll see the signs. No swimming, like shark attacks. One of the funniest things in Australia is when the siren goes off because there's a shark, and often people are just like, ugh, and they start walking out, but you're like, oh, my day's ruined. I came all the way here. A lot of our storybooks as kids look like this. So you're just like, wow, okay. And then one day I was looking and I found this book, Internet for Kids, and I was like super excited. Oh, okay, cool, the internet. Sounds like a safe place compared to going outside. I hopped on and I was like, wow, Yahoo, amazing. And Australia is a bit of a strange place because you're so far from the entire world and you're just on this island in the middle of nowhere. I thought Yahoo was the coolest thing till about 2000, when one of my teachers told me, like, you should really start using Google. I was like, no miss, Yahoo is the future. And again, like when you do try and travel, like you just end up with problems like this. I'll try to get to work, nope, train tracks have melted, can't get there. Try and walk on the street, can't do that either because you get stuck to the actual floor. And as kids, we would like pop the tar bubbles for fun. And I spent a lot of my youth looking like this, just really, really sunburnt. Which can explain why I actually did spend a lot of time indoors, days, nights on the computer. I started to enjoy building things with hardware since I was probably about 6 or 7 years old. I got the internet when I was 11 or 12, and I've just loved it ever since. So what I want to chat about today is why I like monitoring, because I really do like monitoring. Dropbox monitoring, a case study on databases monitoring, how we focus on system and service level monitoring, and also what we do for proactive and reactive monitoring, and then what are our dreams for the future. So why do I like monitoring? Well, like to me, achieving any goal requires honest and regular monitoring of your progress. So for me, one of my big goals was, how do I escape Australia? It took me a very long time to figure it out. I've wanted to come here since I was probably about 12 years old. I'm in my 30s now, so it took a long time. But you know, I monitored it and I got there. Some of my favorite apps. This is a really cool app which actually helps you predict when flights are going to be cheap, and it's called Hopper. So this is really cool when you want to escape but you don't have much money. I just love getting ideas from other industries like health and travel. I think Noom is a really cool app. Sydney University recently did research on 800 health and nutrition apps, and they said that this app is the best one for helping you, and the reason is if you actually tell it what you're doing, it'll say, hey, like you should stop eating candy, it's bad for you. So that's helpful for me. So Dropbox, we've got over 500 million users globally, more than 1.2 billion files saved every 24 hours, and half of all Australians on the internet now use Dropbox, and that is a lot of Australians. So we recently put up some blog posts, which you can read, which talk about how we moved from AWS, like EC2, to our own infrastructure, our own physical infrastructure. We now have 90% of our users' data on our own physical infrastructure. And it was one of the reasons I was really excited to join, because I've been looking after physical infrastructure from the beginning of my career, and also providing infrastructure as a service through DigitalOcean. And it's really cool to get to work with that team within storage. There's a lot of cool blog posts there where you can actually look into the detail of how we built that. And it's called the Magic Pocket. So Dropbox monitoring. I thought it'd be fun to go and look at what did we do in the past and what do we do now and how have things changed over time. So where did we actually start? Well, Dropbox, the initial release was 9 years ago, June 2007. We started with Nagios, Thruck, and Ganglia. We now have a pretty big monitoring team who build and maintain tools for all of our engineers. So I love having this centralized team, and they're amazing. So you can see them up there. They're all really awesome. And we started building our own internal tool called Vortex back in March 2013. It was originally called the New Monitoring System. And then we called it Dropmon, and gave it a code name of Vortex because everything needs a code name and it's a very Dropboxy thing. And everyone just liked Vortex, so it stuck with that, and it's still called Vortex now 3 years later. This was just an old email that I pulled up from our VP Akil where he talked about, the issues that we're going through scaling Vortex and just making sure that we were doing everything we could for reliability. We also had a project called Droplog, but that name didn't stick either. There's a lot of really funnily named things. So why did we migrate to our own in-house monitoring? One of the big things was performance of the monitoring system itself, reliability issues with our initial monitoring system. We were scaling the number of metrics per second extremely fast. And as we grew, we also knew that we wanted to be able to build features extremely quickly. So what is Vortex? It's a custom-built time series database with dashboarding, alerting, email, and paging. It has right-side aggregation using hierarchical tags at the metro, cluster, and machine level, and it lets you build your own rapid dashboards. You build your own dashboards rapidly, and you can also do triage. It's got many, many cool features. One of the ones I love is metric metadata, which we've talked a lot about over the last 2 days. And so for the databases team, what we can do is we can say, this is the global database, or this is the host database, and we can just send over any of those tags that we want to, and then we can use them however we like. We also have the ability to be able to say to the monitoring team, like, hey, can you build this feature? So recently we just thought it would be really cool if we could build a snooze feature so we wouldn't get paged for some things because we just didn't want to. So what we did was we worked with the monitoring team to say, hey, can you let us auto snooze at the host level from within our database ops automation tooling? And they built that in a day, and it was really awesome to be able to then start using that, and we use it all the time. So something else we have is called Mantra, which is a simple interface for getting third-party metrics into Vortex. I thought it was really cool to see Kelsey's talk about how you can have these tools and how everyone's building them. That's really awesome. So Mantra is what we use for MySQL. We have thousands and thousands of MySQL databases, over 5,000. So there are a lot of databases to monitor. But yeah, we use Mantra. And it's really handy, and like the reason that we built it too was to discourage every person from writing their own scripts and scheduling with cron. So now let's look at databases monitoring at Dropbox. One of the reasons I was excited to come and share this was because I worked at a really huge company where there was 40,000 people, and that was like massive scale, one of the biggest banks in Australia. I worked there for 6 years. And then I went and worked at DigitalOcean where there was 60 people. And then I wanted to go and work somewhere where they'd been around for quite a long time, and it was a tech company, and they'd had time to be able to figure out like what would we want to build and how do you do database monitoring well. So I've been really excited to join and learn from my team. This is my team here, the databases team. So we're a very distributed team, which is also makes it important to have great monitoring. So we have Brian, who's in Vegas. Dave is in San Francisco, Renjish is also in SF, and myself. And then Max, Slava, and Peter are all in Dublin. And then Renee is in Malta. So for us, database monitoring is reactive and proactive. Oh, it kind of took a bit of the bottom, but that's okay. Oh no, it fit, that's great. So whenever there is a spike in MySQL workload, we get a page. this lets us be able to, we can talk to the service owner then and understand why did things change. We know it's not MySQL running hot, it's something that's changed and we want to investigate it. So we just spike when the workload changes. And people are really used to talking to us. We have Slack so we can just jump in a channel and talk to them, or we can shoot them an email, or we can just walk over to their desk. And we also do reactive monitoring, which is, hey, MySQL's running hot and we need to put out the fire. So maybe for a database, you might be thinking like, what should I actually measure? Like, what are the metrics I should really be measuring? The big thing for us is that it's important to remember that your service is running on an actual server, even if it's in the cloud. And I definitely say this from someone who's building the cloud or like helping, people use the cloud. So you want to know like what's actually running, and you want to be able to have your system metrics and your service metrics together. And this helps you see your issues quickly across all of your servers, especially if you have thousands of them. So one of the things we do at Dropbox, which I really like as well, is having a team charter. So this lets any team across Dropbox be able to see where are our main dashboards and how do we use them. So we've got a performance dashboard, which is mostly used by us. We have table stats dashboards. We've got a databases dashboard, which we use for aggregated stats. We also have a SQL proxy, which we built in-house. We have dashboards for that too. We built a DBOps bot, which is a databases promotions bot. And we also built a new dashboard called Scout, which Max created, and it lets teams across the whole of infrastructure and product engineering reduce their KTLO by giving them insights into their PagerDuty data, and that's been awesome so far. So these are the system level metrics that we think are really important for databases. So the first one is CPU, then memory, network, disk, especially disk I/O, like how fast, how slow, disk space. We have a lot of graphs, we do alerting, and we also send emails. So now let's take a look at our database performance dashboard. So what are the actual system level metrics we have there? So this is what it looks like for CPU. And when you open up the dashboard, the first thing you can do is select the database, because we have many, many databases, and then you can select the master or the slave and then look into it. So here you can see our CPU dashboard, and across the top you can see that there are a number of little links there. And the reason that we do this is we only show you one graph when you're looking at it and you open up your dashboard. And this is because we think the best thing to do is first look at a glance, which I haven't shown yet, and then you work your way down. So it's really easy. But you can see there what we have. And then for memory, this is what we track. And it would just be across that database. Then we also look at disk. So we want to know percentage utilized SDA and percentage utilized SDB. We also like to have some networking information in there for MySQL traffic. So we have bytes received and bytes sent. And you can imagine like the networking team has a ton of dashboards and tooling that we can use as well, and we have access to that. But for us, it's been nice to just, as we look after our database service, we like to be able to have the information that we need really quickly in our one performance dashboard. So service metrics. This gets really much more into what do we track from MySQL to make sure everything's running well across the thousands of servers. So the first thing is thinking about what are your durability goals. Obviously that's super important. What are your reliability goals? How do you want to track and interact with your monitoring on a daily, monthly, weekly, yearly basis? And how do you align your monitoring to your goals? We use Grafana for our backups monitoring because it's really handy for that. So we use HDFS and we track here the capacity. We also look at we do a lot of quality testing and we do backup restores, so we have a lot of monitoring for that as well. But you can see that's super important, we check that all the time. The next thing, which actually sits under at a glance, is threads running and threads connected. We think this is a really great proxy for is MySQL running hot, because you would be able to see it straight away if threads running was spiking, which is a really, really great graph to first look at for your databases. I'll show you some more things later about what we do on an aggregated layer, but this is for one database. If you know, oh, this database is having a problem, I just got paged, the first thing we do is look at a glance. Obviously, we look at a lot of stuff at InnoDB as well. This is just one part of that, buffer pool read requests and buffer pool reads. We have a lot more graphs within that table, so there's a lot more detail there. The next thing we do is look at workload monitoring, because we want to know what queries are fired. what are the number of queries that are fired? Insects, selects, what are the types of queries happening? What are our top queries? How many transactions do we have? We also do TCP profiling for every query, for query sampling, sorry. And we look at inbound TCP packets coming to MySQL every n minutes for a few seconds. We then look at this data to figure out what's happening. So this is our top queries dashboard, and you can see this for every database type. So what we do is it'll actually show you the top ones there and has it on the left-hand side, and then you can hide all of them and just show one. And below this, it actually shows you the exact query that's being run. This is super handy for us to be able to go, oh, okay, this is the query and this is what is written, and then we can go look up the team that wrote that query and then talk to them about it if we need to tune something because maybe it wasn't optimized. We also have monitoring like this for all of our fake databases. We have fake shards, fake databases. There are many of them set up. And our monitoring works on everything, which is really awesome because we do a lot of testing there too. So it shows up just the same. You can see it there. So here are some more for select types. We have a dashboard for that. So you can see full joins, full range joins, range check, and also we have our sorting, which is merge passes, range, rows, and scan. For commands, we look at commits, deletes, inserts, rollbacks, selects, updates, and queries. And we also have a slow queries right there. Oh. And another thing we use for looking at what's happening with MySQL is we use performance schema. That's pretty awesome. We built our own tools as well, so we can pull up performance schema and see like what are the queries that have changed recently in this time period, and that's a really great tool for debugging. For replication, we use semi-sync replication. A big thing that we need to check is transactions behind the master, or TBM as you'll see. And we also look at a lot of dashboards around binlog. So you see here we have our transactions behind master graph, and then also the binary log write rate and the relay log write rate. The next thing that I love too is the aggregated top-end stats. This lets you be able to quickly find out what should I look at next, especially when you have like so many different databases or many shards. What we do here is we would say for Edge Store, which is actually our distributed database which sits above MySQL, and engineers write to Edge Store, and then Edge Store does a lot of throttling and has a lot of great tooling within that. So it actually shows us what are the top Edge Store machines that are having issues with threads running, and then we can go and dive into that and look for it, which is pretty cool. So a big thing for us is like simple monitoring. It's really easy at a glance to be able to see what's going on if there is a problem, especially for the at a glance dashboard, and just knowing like what are the metrics we should expect, what are the things that we need to look for and keep an eye on. And a lot of the time we only have 2 lines on many of our graphs, and we only show 1 graph at a time. So it's really quick and easy to just look at it and go, oh, that looks fine, let's keep going. And dashboards are definitely a debugger for us too, like we've talked about. So how do we use monitoring when we're actually on call? So we're all on call, not just for our service, but for other services as well. We have a core on-call team, which is similar to what Mark Ambriaco created at DO called Tank, and I really love that team. We also have service teams that have our on-call rotations, and we have an IMOC rotation, which is 24/7. So me as an incident manager on call, I could get paged for anything that was having an issue, and then I would go and look into it. And it's a great way to learn about Dropbox, because it's been around for 9 years now, so many different systems and so many teams. But a lot of our tooling is really awesome, and it helps to be able to find everything. So what happens with a page when it comes in, you can see here, this is the database's Slack channel. So we have this alert for DB slave count, and it links to Vortex, which is our system for the alert. You can see here it was assigned to Ranjish, who's our tech lead, and he said, okay, looks like the job failed because we have a lot of automation. He said he's going to refire it. So, and then you can see it gets resolved. And this is a great habit that I think we have at Dropbox, and Ranjish definitely created this habit that when a page comes into our channel, everybody will say what they're doing to investigate it, what went wrong. So if anyone's looking, they would be able to know. And also it helps when you do shift handover, because we do the follow the sun model. So then at the end of the day, we have Dublin come on and they know exactly what's going on because they can just scroll back through and it's all there. So when you click on alert, this is what it looks like. I really love it. It's awesome. It tells you exactly what the alert does, when it was written, when it was last modified, who modified it, what was it before, what is it now. This helps you because anybody has access to edit any alert. So sometimes someone might change the threshold and you want to know like what was the threshold before. So you can quickly see that. It also has your dashboard built in, so you can see that there. So it's really nice to be able to see the graph and then know all the details. And we have our playbook, which is there too in the notes section. A lot of our playbooks are now written as scripts, so that helps you with debugging quickly. So it'll say, hey, run this script, and then you'll be able to see like where you should look next. And then also go and look at this tool, and that will help you out too. So it's very quick to be able to debug issues because of everything being in this one place. So for alerting, I mentioned that we have a follow the sun model. Distributed teams are really awesome. I love working with distributed teams and having remote team members. I think it's really fun. And if an issue fires again, if an issue fires, it won't fire again in 30 minutes. We track it at the instance level, and then we use PagerDuty. We have a mechanism to snooze alerts, like I said, proactively. We have all of our playbook notes in the alert dashboard with graphs, so it's always only one click away. And Mark mentioned dry run mode as well. We definitely do that. That's pretty cool. It helps a lot when new people start, so they're not worried about running things. We have our alerts at 90% for disk. We have bots in Slack where we use the comments, and we have discussions in the chat room. We talk to ourselves a lot, which might sound weird, but it's actually super handy. And we often delete or modify alerts. Anybody has access to do that, and we encourage it, that everybody can go in and change it whenever they think they need to. And yeah, we definitely measure how often we use alerts, because you can look at the stats like, when was this alert last fired? If it hasn't been fired for a long time, then we can just get rid of it probably, and try out, see what happens. And then it's really easy for everybody to edit their alerts. Another thing which I think is awesome is we have a capacity and planning team. So I had actually not had this really before, but it's great at Dropbox. So the capacity team actually builds tools to help us with tracking our database capacity. So Eric is our databases DRI for the capacity team, and Brian on our databases team works really closely with Eric as the DRI. And this is great. Like, they actually build us dashboards, they build us email reports, so we know like where our databases are at, and they send us all of this information every single day. So we're able to work with them to make sure that we're making the right decisions. So for us, it's been about figuring out the right balance so we don't get paged repeatedly. That's just a really big thing. Don't want that to happen when you have thousands of machines. Another thing that we did was build this Scout dashboard, and we also have a weekly KTLO catch-up, and that's keep the lights on. So we created this model to dramatically reduce alerts, and basically what it is once a week you just meet up for 30 minutes and choose 2 to 3 actions that you'll take to reduce alerts that week. And we built this dashboard here. Basically all we did was just say, what are the top 5 most frequent alerts this last week compared to the previous week and the week before that? And if you actually say, hey, how do we just get rid of this top alert? Then we found that that's dramatically reduced our alerts. It's been amazing. And now we're at a stage where every single week the alerts are different, and it's been great. So we just keep doing that, and we'll continue to do that every week. But it's made everyone so much happier. And we launched this, and then every team was able to quickly add themselves, because it just uses the PagerDuty API and some JavaScript, and all they needed to do was just add their team, and then it would pull it for them. Another thing we do, which I hadn't seen before, was daily KPI email reports. I like this a lot for the databases team. So it actually will send a daily summary to the entire team. We have a habit of replying all when the email arrives. So we know that everyone does see the email, which is pretty handy. And so my responsibility is to just look at it and think, okay, do we have any sort of drop in availability? I'll look through, and then we'll investigate why did we have a drop, and then write back. And there's also a rolled up email of this same data that goes to the entire infrastructure org every day as well. So everyone knows what's happening all the time, and it gets sent to their inbox. We definitely have a culture of measurement. We even have a monthly metrics review. I hadn't had this before either, but it's pretty cool. And so we all get together on a monthly basis and reflect on our metrics as an entire serving infra team. And we set actions and goals for the next month. It's definitely about people and technology. We talk about a lot of different things in the monthly metrics review. And some of our other values at Dropbox are sweat the details and aim higher, so it definitely plays into that idea. For our hardware engineering team, they're always building us tools. We have a pretty big hardware engineering team, and they have recently created this tool called Hardware Checker, which is an internal tool that checks our hardware for us. They built a really awesome web UI and an API for that. They have dashboards and alerting and automated workflows, and this is really exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I don't have too much to share now, but I'm definitely excited for them to share and do a talk in the future. But this has been something great to be able to have all of that information in one place, and because they're hardware experts, they can help us understand like how we can better use our databases hardware. We definitely don't do server hugging at Dropbox. Hosts are all replaceable. We even have like auto-replace scripts. We have many remediation tools, and we're building more in the future. We automatically replace machines all the time, so if something happens with one of the databases, we'll just do clones, we'll move them out, we'll bring in new ones, it all just runs by itself. And it's more about us monitoring that replacement tooling rather than doing it ourselves. Another big thing I think is when you have all of these tools and you have all your monitoring set up, you want to be able to test it to know, is it working exactly like I expect it to? So this is something fun, like we get to go and break things. And I've always loved doing this, so we do disaster recovery testing. I've been doing this since 2009, which has been a lot of fun. And at Dropbox, we have both testing tools, which is DRTD, which will go through and you can have plugins and you can run those specific scripts. And then we do DRTs, which are just our testing methods similar to game days at Amazon or DIRTs at Google, where we would sit together for half an hour and think like, what do we want to break today? And then make sure that does the monitoring work exactly like we expect it for this failure? And do we get paged? So we make sure that we get paged for everything properly and that everything happens exactly like we want it to. So the future. The future for us, what we're excited about is that we think that when you're on call, you shouldn't have to figure out what metric is spiking. We hope that monitoring should actually show us what metric is changed. And we're really interested in machine learning. We're just excited about smart monitoring that lets us see when patterns are emerging and points us in the right direction. So yeah, I think we have pretty big dreams, but I'm really excited to see what everyone builds out there, because we were just thinking, wouldn't it be so cool if it just bubbled up and said, hey, look here first? That would be amazing. So looking forward to seeing what comes in the future. Thank you very much.